Everybody, Tyler Cruz here, also known as Always Dizzy. I am here with my round 4 recap from the 2024 Jack Taylor Memorial. If you haven't watched the first 3 rounds, you should watch those videos first, obviously. So, as a quick reminder, in round 3, I had just finished playing Emilian Holmgren in a game which was one of the worst tournament games I've played. Just forgetting an opening that I played a million times and then doubling down and then on the next move making another mistake. So not a good game by me, and I was feeling pretty bad about it. Especially losing to a lower rated player, which is, I mean, he's a younger player, so he's likely underrated. But, it never feels good, right? No matter how many times you do it, it never feels good. So round 4 was the next day. So this was day 3, because the first day had 1 round and then 2 rounds on the second day and then 2 rounds on the last day. So this was the next morning. And I was playing against Cliff Jones, who I played against before. And the pairings were up the night before. And so I did a tiny bit of prep against him. Not very much because I didn't have that much free time. But I actually played Cliff before, maybe a couple years ago. And I was black in that game as well. And I'm actually going to, if anyone is interested, you might want to watch that video first, and I'll link it. There'll be like a little link here that'll display for like 5 seconds. You can click on that. I might put it in the description too, but you might want to watch that video first just to give some context about my prior engagement with Cliff. So Cliff is a little bit of an older player, like not super old, but just, I don't know, maybe, hard to say, maybe like 15 years older than me, maybe 20. Anyways, he's, as you can see, he's rated 1242, but he was higher. In fact, if you give me a second here, I'm going to look up his prior rating, depending on how long it takes me to find it. I'll edit the video, but no, I'm here. So yeah, he used to be 1878, but it's just that the new rating, in the new rating atmosphere, everything is crazy now. Ever since COVID, even right before COVID, it was a little weird. But yeah, COVID really messed things up. And so he used to be 1878. Okay, so he's not a weak player. And let me get back to my window here. Yeah, so just reading my notes here. So I was fine with losing round 2, but round 3 I just felt was pathetic for me. And despite winning round 1, I was still annoyed about it because I was paired up against an 800 rated player, meaning I got no points for that, for winning. And yeah, so in my prior game with Cliff, again, you should watch that video first if you don't want to, like, if you're curious. But that was a draw as well, and there wasn't really much I could have done that game. He just held down the fort, and at that time he was also lower rated than me, and it was a little frustrating because, well, you don't want to draw a lower rated player. I don't even love drawing like same rated players. You want the win. And another thing that's interesting is that I believe I prepped for him that game as well, and I noticed that he's an E4 player, but for some reason he played G3 against me. And yeah, like I don't think I saw any games where he played G3 before, and so that was interesting. Okay, so let's get started here. Make sure everything is correct. Yeah, so I was curious what he would do today. I thought there was a chance he might play G3 again. But I was ready for him if he played E4, and he played G3 again. So there it is. And I'm wondering, maybe this is his strategy against higher rated opponents. It's possible that he just switched to G3 as well. But I think he might play this against higher rated opponents and then try for a draw. Because that's what he did in our last encounter. He wasn't trying for a win. He was just playing very drawish stuff. And yeah, anyways, I played d5 and he played bishop g2. And now in our previous game, I played knight f6 here, which is okay. But I forgot that actually my repertoire move is simply e5, just taking the center, which I think is like a hair bit better, but we're talking like maybe like 12 centipawns better type of deal. But yeah, so in this game, because I did some very, very light prep, I'm talking like 10, 15 minutes, I did remember and I played e5 this time. And I don't know if I have it in my notes here, but I think one difference might be if you play knight f6 first, then this allows knight f3, right? Because we can't play e5 now. We would have to prepare it. Whereas if we play e5 here, knight f3 doesn't work, I think, just because we just push, which is probably worth the move there. So anyways, after e5, he played c3, which is a bit unusual. I forget what I had planned for here. I think I was planning against d3. I think that's what my prep was against. But he played c3. So he played c3, and I was out of my little book. Again, I only did super light prep. And I played knight f6. Oh boy, his throat is dry. And he played d4. And I played knight c6 here. I didn't want to play c6 because in our previous game, we played a similar structure, and I played c6, and it was just dull and boring, and it was a draw. And I didn't want the same thing to happen. So I wanted to keep things a little bit more active because I sensed that he might just try to get a draw again, like he did in our previous game. So I wanted to get the pieces developed, and yeah, I wanted to keep things a little bit more dynamic as possible. So I played knight c6, and he played bishop g5. And then I played bishop e7. What on earth was going on at this tournament for me? Is it old age? Like, I'm not even saying that as a joke, because this is just a mistake. And I slept okay all tournament. Like, sometimes I sleep very poorly at tournaments, and I can use that as an excuse. I can't use that as an excuse this time. I slept okay. And it was the first round of the day, so I can't say I was tired from the previous round. I have no excuses. I don't know. But bishop e7 is just a mistake, because as soon as I played it, I realized that I just dropped a pawn here, because my knight is the only defender. My knight on f6 is the only defender of d5. And so then after he takes on e5, he can just take on d4. Yeah, so this was just this. I just felt terrible. I mean, remember the previous game I played terribly and I lost, and then I'm doing that again, and this is move 5. This is move 5 against a 1200, and I am playing terribly, and God, it just sucks. Now, what's very interesting here is that despite dropping a pawn here, Stockfish says this is actually not that bad, and that there is compensation for it for black. But that's beside the point. That is completely beside the point, because the point is that I didn't even see that I was just dropping d5. So I didn't even get to evaluate if there was compensation. I just simply missed it. So instead of bishop e7, there were multiple moves that black could have played. But again, it doesn't matter. All that matters is I simply missed that I'm dropping d5 here. The simplest reply, though, I think, was instead of bishop e7, was bishop e6. Just simply defending d5 again. Okay, so after bishop e7, my opponent took on e5 first. I recaptured. He took on f6, and I recaptured. And so, yeah, I felt terrible here. Isn't it crazy? Like sometimes I do well in tournaments. I forget when it was. I think it was a year and a half ago. I think a year and a half ago, I had 2 great tournaments back to back, and I set 2 new personal bests. But then sometimes, I don't know, you have good ones and you have bad ones, but this was terrible. It's not like I got outplayed. I'm just self-sabotaging here, right? So again, previous game, I played terribly, and then move 5 against a 1200, I hung upon. And it was agonizing here, as I had to wait for my opponent Cliff to decide whether he wants to take with the queen or the bishop. And I almost wanted to resign here. I seriously almost wanted to just resign, withdraw from the tournament, and then just go home. I was so disgusted with myself. And then here, my opponent, again, I was waiting to see if he wants to take with the queen or the bishop. And I didn't care. I was just self-loathing. And he played knight d2. Whoa, what? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But I was stone, I kept a stone cold face, not reacting to it. I just couldn't believe it. I was so shocked. How did my opponent not see that there was a free pawn on d5, especially after taking his time? And I just couldn't believe it. And I thought he must have seen it. There's no way he didn't see it. There's no way. Again, Cliff used to be over 1800 over the board. And then I thought, okay, like he must have seen it, but then maybe he got scared of taking it. And after I got home and looked at it with an engine, I think that's actually what happened. And I think he didn't want to take any risks here. I think he was really wanting to just get a draw. And amazingly, taking the pawn here is only a hair bit better after queen takes d5. I'm definitely getting sick. That's not cool. I can feel it. It always starts in my throat, and then okay. But yeah, so had he taken here? I'm just going to read my notes first, though. But yeah, taking the pawn after queen takes d5 is only a little bit better for white, and black is actually better if white takes with the bishop. Because black has a bishop pair here, and with an open board, pretty open board. And I think that my opponent just had a lot of experience in these positions as white, and knew that black can be dangerous here, even when white takes the pawn. And I think my opponent thought I was prepared for all this, and he did get scared. He thought I willingly gave up the pawn, and he didn't want to take that risk, and so he just wanted to play it more solidly. I think that's what happened, but that wasn't the case. So yeah, if white takes on d5 with the bishop, black can play bishop f5, and now black is a little bit better, slightly better. And the best move here for white is queen a4. If white doesn't play queen a4, if white plays something like knight f3, then knight d3 for black, and black is a lot better here. Maybe not well, black is better, like no question better. Um, yeah, because we're threatening a pawn on b2. It's check, and after e takes, we can take the bishop, and come on, this is obviously better. So yeah, so I think my opponent was scared. Now, if queen takes d5, which is the best response here for white, black still has compensation. So after queen takes, bishop takes. Wait, is that right? Well, I think then just c6 and bishop b3 castles. I think it's supposed to be fairly equal here, even though black is down a pawn, because black, or yeah, because black does have development. Black is ahead in development here. And if there's another line here that I'm trying to remember. So if bishop f5, I think this is the better way to play, if I remember. So bishop f5, knight f3. And we castle queenside, and after knight takes e5, rook takes d5, knight takes f7. If knight f3 instead, there's rook b5. And look at all of this pressure black has here. But if knight takes f7 instead, then rook f8, and the knight is trapped. So just, yeah, there's lots of little tricks and traps here for black because of the added development. And I think my opponent Cliff just got scared, and he thought I had this all worked out. But I didn't. So he played knight d2. But go into my headspace here at the time, because I just thought, oh, this is a miracle. I've been given a chance. I'm so lucky that he didn't take the pawn. So that's what was actually going on in my head here. Okay, so I castled, and he played knight g f3. And I thought here for a bit, because I didn't want to take, because then I just felt I'm helping him develop, right? He's just improving his knight that was on d2. But the computer says that it doesn't matter. The computer is fine with taking on f3. It doesn't care. I guess I did take. I think I just didn't have another idea. But yeah, this is apparently fine. So I took, and then I played c6, which again is reminiscent of our previous game. This whole setup, but honestly, I was just happy that I didn't drop that pawn at this moment in time. I was still just ecstatic about that. And he played e3. So after he played e3, I was again already trying to find ways here to fight for a win, because I know Cliff he likes to draw against me. I mean, he's lower rated, right? He's 300 points lower rated. So can you blame him? A draw is a good result for him, especially since this is a FIDE rated tournament. And he doesn't have a FIDE rating. So at this point, I was already looking for little ways to gain an edge, or just to make it more of a fighting battle here instead of just an equal game. And so I also wanted to really try to fight here for a good finish in the tournament, because at this point I was 1 out of 3, but this was round 4, so I still had a chance to finish with 3 out of 5 in the premier section, which is pretty good. And so I really wanted to fight for a win, and yeah, and I was fighting for rating too, right? I wanted to win here, and I wanted to win in the final round, and then maybe I might break even. I might even gain points. And so, yeah, I took my time here to try to devise some type of, I don't know, just try to mix things up a little bit, try to create some imbalance. And I had a little bit of an idea here, and I knew that white can easily deal with it, but I had to give it a shot. And at least it kind of gives black a little bit of an initiative. And my plan here was to go a5, and the only move that I really looked at here for, for white was a4. Just kind of stopping my expansion here. Otherwise, I think I was probably going to play b5 or even a4 myself. And so after a5, a4, I was planning queen b6, because now I have pressure on b2. I have pressure along the a1, h8 diagonal. And I just thought maybe I can start to poke and prod there. And I saw a5, a4, queen b6, and I thought he's got multiple things here, but probably just queen e2. And then I didn't have a reply against that, but I thought I should still just give it a shot because I had no other plans here. So that's what I did. I went a5, and he did play a4. I played queen b6, and he played queen e2. So just as I thought. And so he dealt with it perfectly. But I don't know. I had to try something. And here I played rook e8, just developing my rook and trying to keep pressure going. He castled kingside, and I couldn't really come up with any ideas here. I played bishop d7, just getting the bishop off the back rank and connecting the rooks. And by the way, if I don't give an alternative, it means the computer doesn't have a good alternative to my moves here. So my opponent played rook fd1, and I played bishop g4. So again, just trying to stir something up. I was hoping here for queen c2, getting out of the pin. Wait, is that right? No. I was hoping for h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6. When black is a little bit better, because we've created a little bit more weaknesses around white's king. Yeah. So that's what I was hoping for, but he didn't. He played queen c2, and I played rook a d8. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to explain it. He played rook d2, and I played queen c7. Running out of ideas. So I was running out of ideas here. I mean, Cliff is a good player. Like, he's a very solid player. He's a solid player, and 1200 is that's just what 1800 rated players used to be now. That's just what it is. It's not unusual. But yeah, so I figured, well, my queen never got anything going on b6. He dealt with everything perfectly calmly and fine. So let's improve it. Maybe I can push the b pawn at some point. The queen is doing nothing on b6. So I played queen c7. He played knight d4. And then here, with no pin anymore, I felt that my bishop was better suited on g6. I just felt that maybe I'm getting some more light square control that way along the b1 h7 diagonal. And I have a comment. I have a note in a couple moves from now. But yeah, so this was my idea, was to improve this bishop. And so I came up with this idea of rerouting it to g6. Again, where I just thought I had a better cross-section control here, where I'm controlling more of the center, namely d4. But perhaps a better try for an imbalance here was to move h5, which is what... Yeah, I think it's no better objectively than what I played, but it does create a little bit more of an imbalance, and it gives white, I think, potentially more chances to screw up. So that would have been an idea, but it's a little scary to play as well. So I played bishop h5, and he played bishop f1. I played bishop g6. And he played bishop d3. So I never should have allowed this trade of bishops, because it gets closer to a draw, right? But I just simply overlooked the bishop f1 move. When I came up with this plan of rerouting the bishop, which I thought was like a minuscule improvement over the bishop on g4, I don't know, I just didn't see bishop f1, bishop d3. And I think earlier in the game, I was thinking that the trading of these two bishops would actually benefit me because my light squared bishop, because this is a bad bishop for me because my pawns are mostly on light squares and his pawns are on dark squares. So his light squared bishop is a good bishop for him. And this is my bad bishop. So I thought the trading of those bishops would be good. But when it actually happened here, it didn't feel as good. And I remember learning that when you are facing the bishop pair, like when you have a bishop and a knight against the bishop pair, usually it's a good idea to trade the bishop. So if you're white here, to trade the bishop, your sole bishop, regardless of the color, for the enemy's other bishop, and then play knight against bishop, because often that remaining bishop will be a bad bishop. Now, I don't fully understand that general principle. Like, if anyone can explain that in more detail to me, I would like to know. But I've heard that more than once. I've heard, again, I don't know if it's simply to get rid of the opponent's bishop pair, because then you could also do that. You could say you could just trade either minor piece to do that, right? But maybe part of the idea is that, I don't know. Maybe it's just very situational still. I don't fully understand that concept yet. Yeah, so I was I have a bit of conflicting information here, where this is a bad bishop for me, this is a good bishop for him. I want to trade those off, but then I'm left with the bishop against a knight. Okay, so this is fine. It's just that where's my win? Where's my win, right? And so here we have a decision, right? Do I want to take out his knight or not? And in the game, I did take the knight on d4. So perhaps I should have avoided the trade for better winning prospects because we have more pieces on the board. Especially since white's pawns are all on dark squares here, right? So maybe I should have avoided that and then trade the heavy pieces, and then my bishop can maybe do something with these pawns. But I think the computer doesn't mind taking it all. And I got a bit nervous about white's knight though, because there's 14 pawns on the board. And so I thought with a closed position, the knight might outshine my bishop, and that made me nervous. And so I did trade here. He took with the c pawn. I played queen d7. He played king g2. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't a happy camper here because I'm pushing for a win, and the draw master Cliff Jones is getting pretty close to a draw here. So, but I was really trying to push for a win. So just got aggressive here. Queen g4. He played queen e2. I don't want a queen trade. So I went queen g4. Oh, sorry, queen g5. And he played h4. Queen e7. Queen d3. And here, he offered me a draw. No surprise. I mean, it happened in our previous game, and in this game, he's Yeah, he just wants a draw. He's just playing for a draw, and it's annoying. Um, so no, thank you. I do not want to draw. There's nothing here for black, is what I figured, but I had to give it a try and apply some pressure. Make him earn the draw. Um, I don't want to willingly draw somebody 300 points below me, especially with the poor performance I've been having in the tournament. So I had to, even though I knew there's nothing actually here, I had to try something. And he played rook c1. By the way, I think it's a really good habit to try to do this, because this isn't something I know I often do. I'm actually pretty is amenable the right word to draws, and often I'm not a grinder in general. I don't really grind out positions because I get tired, but I think it's a good practice to do that. In fact, I think some coaches recommend like to never draw, always just try to win at all costs. Um, okay, so he played rook c1. I played rook g6, just again attacking his king. He went king h3, queen d6. I think I was just trying to get the other rook in there, and like I have like rook e4 ideas. He went rook h1, and I did play rook e4, and now we almost have something. During the game, I knew I didn't have anything, but I am pushing him. I am pushing here, and he has to be careful. I do have some threats. He went king g2. I went h5 because I didn't want him to play h5, I think. Rook h3. I went queen e7. He went queen a3. So I should have mentioned this before, but I had been waiting for this because I thought he might try to do this. He might try to trade off queens and play queen a3. And then I told myself before, like, because he could have done this at a lot of points, right? I thought if he did that to try to remove some of the pressure off his king, that I would then just snatch that queen, because now there's a weakness. Now white has double a pawns, and I thought if my opponent plays queen a3, I'm just going to snatch it, and I should probably, after a lot of maneuvering, should probably have an edge there. Then I put the rooks behind my pawns, get the king up. I can probably push the pawns at some point, and these double a pawns are probably going to prove too weak for him. And so in the game, after he played queen a3, especially because they're double rook pawns, I took. But apparently Stockfish gives a tiny preference. I forget what the eval difference is, probably like 10, 20 centipawns, probably like 20 centipawns. But the computer thinks I should have kept the queens on and just kept applying pressure. And that was probably the right decision. But yeah, I thought this would be, this had to be a weakness for white, but apparently it's not. Rook and pawn endgames are so notoriously Josh and equal, and I knew that, right? But I thought, but with double rook pawns. So I played rook d6 because I had to start defending against him attacking my backward b7 pawn. He played rook b2. So I defended it with rook d7. He played rook h1. And then here I thought for 8 minutes. I was partly annoyed that Cliff it appears that he is going to get his draw after all. And then partly I was thinking, because I was deciding whether I want to defend with a rook on b8 or if I want to double up my rooks instead. And so, yeah, I went into quite a think here. my concern was rook e8 and rook b8 is that it felt a little bit too passive. And ultimately, I did abandon that idea because I was scared of rook e8, rook hb1, rook b8, rook b6, rook c7, right? Because otherwise he's going to take my c6 pawn. So rook c7, rook a6, b takes a6, rook takes b8, king h7, king f3, and I didn't like this. This felt, if anyone is better here, it's white. His rook is more active, his king is more active. So I didn't go for that. And I went, I went rook I went rook e7. So I doubled on the sevens file. And he played rook c1. And I hadn't seen this. Because here I thought there's still maybe something here for black. If I then bring in the king, maybe I have something. But I didn't see this. I didn't see rook c1. I didn't see him just going to c6 and attacking my a pawn until he played rook c1. So I played rook d8 just to prepare rook a8. He played rook cb1. And, well, how am I supposed to defend both threats? If I go rook b8 again, we just get that other position that I just showed, that other line. And if I go back here, he can just repeat. So I did go back rook d7. He played rook c1, and he offered me another draw. But I was still in denial. I was going to fight tooth and nail to avoid another draw against him. So I played rook d8. I don't know what I was thinking, but he played rook cb1, and then, repeated. So it was a draw. So after this game, so first of all, it sucks to get another draw against him, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst feeling because I felt mentally at that time that I should have lost the game out of the, because when I played bishop e7 in the opening, just dropping a pawn. So to actually end with a draw wasn't the worst feeling, because at least I didn't lose. So now after this game, I was on the fence because I was on the fence on if I should withdraw from the tournament or not, and it's only a 5-round tournament, so it's not that many rounds to begin with, right? Like six is a nicer amount to have, but I was on the fence because I did a calculation of my rating, and at this point, if I withdrew now, my new rating would be just under 1,400, or sorry, just under 1,500, about 1,495, which would mean in my next tournament, because there's another tournament I was thinking about going to, it's a 9-round tournament. They have an under 1,500 section, and so I was deciding, like, if I withdraw now, I would then be able to play in the under 1,500 section in that tournament, and then have some chances for prize money. Or if I played another round in this tournament, if I won that game, I would be over 1,500, and then I can't play in that lower section. And since prize money helps a lot to pay for the hotel and everything, I did decide to withdraw. Now, I know a lot of you are already going, oh man, why? But I was on the fence. Now, it wasn't just that. The other thing was I was playing terribly this tournament, right? Think about the previous game I just played. Like, not this game, but the game before this one, where I screwed up twice in the opening. And then this game where I screwed up on move 5. I was playing terribly. And so probably I shouldn't continue, right? Because if I'm playing so poorly, do I really want to play poorly in a 5th round? So, and then finally, I also withdrew because my vision, and especially at the time, because I got new glasses a couple days after this tournament. I got new lenses. They arrived. I was waiting for them to arrive. My old glasses were extra bad for me when I'm driving at night, and it's like a 2-hour drive home. and it gets dark early here. So I didn't really want to drive home in the dark with my bad glasses. And so that was, all of those things combined made me end up withdrawing. Yeah, so overall, a poor tournament for me. And my new rating is 1495, which is, it's funny and scary at the same time. I mean, I oh, it's so low. It's so low, but that's just what it is. That's just the new landscape. That's the and I have to play better, you know? I just have to keep working at it. It sucks. It's a struggle. And it's like, oh man, it's been a little while since I was in the 1400s. But that's just how it is. And my FIDE rating took a hit too. Although I was prepared for that to happen. I was ready for that to happen. So I'm 1776 now for FIDE. Because only 2 of my opponents were FIDE rated. And yeah, so 1776 FIDE and 1495 CFC. Yeah, so that is the end of my tournament recap report for this tournament. So the next tournament that I'm thinking about going to is at the beginning of January. Like, I think it's like January 2nd or so. I think it's, I think it's January 2nd. And I went to this one last year, which I quite liked. It's 9 rounds of classical chess, 50 plus 10 time control. So 9 rounds. If I play in it, I would play in the under 1500 section. I could pay more to play in the higher section, but why not play in the lower section and lose even more rating? So yeah, I'm thinking about going to it. I'm not sure if I want to though, because it's expensive, right? And then on top of that, they also have an event afterwards. They have a 9-round blitz tournament, which they had last year. I don't know if it was 9 rounds though. And so if I play in both, that's 18 rounds of chess. Now, probably I won't play in the blitz tournament because then I won't be able to catch my ferry home. So probably I won't, because if I play in it, then I might need to get another night of my Airbnb, which is, that's expensive. So I don't know. If I had somebody to like film my games, it might be worth it, because then you guys would have footage. I'd have videos of me playing 9 rounds of blitz tournament chess. But I don't have anybody to film me, and I can't film myself. Okay, anyways, I'm rambling. This is all for another video, but that was round 4 from the 2024 Jack Taylor Memorial. Terrible tournament for me. I played terribly. It happens. What can I say? Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.